Hello, Robin. It's your favorite president of all time, me, President Donald John Trump. And as part of my plea bargain with the federal government, I've produced this short video on how to change your insulin pump. So this is your insulin pump, or as I like to call it, your bionic pancreas, which, and I don't know if you know this, I invented. It's time to get started. I know you probably want this over with more than I do. Okay, so this is what you need to get started. You want one of those little alcohol wipes for cleaning the skin. You want this round flying saucer looking thing, which is actually the insulin tube applicator. You need your replacement insulin vial. And you need this cute little plastic thing, which is actually the insulin tube coupler. You need your waterproof adhesive patches. And don't forget your scissors and medical adhesive, or as I like to call it, tape. Why the fancy word? You don't need it. And of course, you'll need your insulin, which is actually very important if you happen to have diabetes. So are we ready? Let's have at it. Let's start by removing the old insulin tube by squeezing together the two sides of the tab at the end of the tube. Then remove the other end of the tube from the bionic pump by giving the coupler a quarter turn to the left and then pulling the empty vial out of the pump. And now you can go ahead and put the insulin pump on its charger and get rid of all those old bandages from Robin's waist. Now it's time to assemble the syringe I may have forgotten to tell you about, but it's in the same box as everything else, so let's not get nasty about it. Once you screw the needle onto the syringe, it's time to harvest the insulin from the vial. Insert the needle through the top of the insulin vial, then slowly retract the plunger until you reach the number 2 marked on the syringe. Then carefully remove the needle from the vial and set aside the syringe. Now it's time to unwrap the replacement insulin vial from its packaging. Now stand the vial up on its end and then insert the needle into the top of the vial. Slowly push down on the plunger until all of the insulin has been dispensed into the vial. Now, once you've made sure all the insulin has been emptied out of the syringe, you need to use it to suck out any air bubbles that might be present in the insulin vial. Do this by inserting the tip of your needle into the top of the insulin vial where the air bubble is located, being careful not to go too far in and past the bubble. Then slowly retract the plunger until the air bubble is gone and you have a nice solidly filled vial. Now it's time to prepare your insulin tube applicator for use. Do this by pulling on the red tab and unwrapping the plastic from around the applicator. Then remove the lid from the top. Next, grasp the exposed end of the small plastic tube and pull it under the small plastic catch. This will allow you to unravel the plastic tube until you reach its end. Now it's time to unwrap the insulin tube coupler from its packaging. Once that is done, screw the coupler onto the exposed end of the tube, like so. Okay, now it's time to get your bionic pancreas. Slide the tab to unlock it and then tap the empty insulin icon at the center/top of the screen. Then you want to tap the change cartridge and tubing tab and then slide the rewind bar in order to rewind the pump. You know, they really ought to look into faster rewinding capabilities. It's what the American people want. And now it is time to follow this cute little animation and insert your newly filled insulin vial into the pump. To do this, take your newly filled vial and with its top facing outward, insert the vial into its compartment at the bottom left corner of the pump. Now, take your coupler at the end of your tube and find the one straight edge and make sure that is facing to the left, then push down into the compartment until it is flush and then lock it into place by giving it a quarter turn to the right. Great job, everybody, and now it's time to continue on Tap the Go to fill tubing tab, and now you're ready to do what I like to call priming the line. In order to do this, you first must remove the tiny little blue-green safety sheath, which is covering the needle at the center of your insulin tube applicator. And then you're going to take your pump, and while holding the tube applicator with the needle facing downward, you're going to press and hold the tab that says, strangely enough, press and hold. Now you do that until you see drops drip out of your needle. It may take a few cycles, but have patience. See those little drops right there? Very good. And now you're going to take your pump and answer the question it's asking you. Did you see drops? So tap yes, because you did see drops. And it's not good to lie. And so when your pump asks, do you also need to insert a new infusion set? What do you think you do? You tap yes, because you actually do need to insert a new infusion set. So what you need to do now is prep your tube applicator for use. First, you remove the protective covering from the bottom like so. Then you flip it over and carefully remove the adhesive covering, which comes off like a corkscrew, and that can be kind of exciting. Okay, maybe not that exciting. But now you are ready to arm the applicator. Don't worry, it's perfectly safe to do this. Hold the applicator like so, reach inside, and just like you're cocking a shotgun, pull it back until you hear it click and it locks into place. Now you can set it aside and then use your alcohol wipe to prepare for what I like to call, and I might be the first one to call it this, the insulin tube insertion point. That's got a nice ring to it, don't you think? Okay, so now you grip between your thumb and your middle finger your locked and loaded insulin tube applicator by the two circular grip indentations located on either side. And now it's so exciting. You take your insulin tube applicator and you place it against the insulin tube insertion point, and then you squeeze the two sides of the applicator together, and it inserts the tube with a satisfying click. Okay, good. Now that your insulin tube has been inserted, you want to make sure the bandage is nice and flush against Robin's waist, and then you're going to remove the tube by squeezing and pulling out the tab like you did before. Okay, now you want to take your waterproof adhesive patch, and you want to peel off the back of the patch, just the thin little slice on the edge, like this. And then you're going to line up the hole at the center of your patch and place it around the tube coupler that's attached to Robin's waist, and then press down on the sticky part. And then you're going to lift the patch up and peel off the rest of the paper backing. Now press the patch back down against Robin's waist and make sure it's nice, solid connection. Now what you're going to do is, using the blue tabs, you're going to pull up and remove the final protective covering from the adhesive patch. Make sure you remove both halves of the covering. And now, because this is Robin we're talking about, we're going to have to reinforce the tube connection point using this medical adhesive, or what you and I know of as tape. Take 4 pieces and secure the edges of the adhesive patch, just like that. And now you want to take your insulin pump's tube and reconnect it to Robin's waist. You do this by sliding the tab at the end of the tube into the socket attached to Robin's waist until you hear a nice satisfying click. Let's get your insulin pump, press next, and let's finish this off, shall we? First, you want to choose the word Teflon, which is what the tube is made of. And then you want to choose 6 millimeters, which is how long the tube is. And finally, slide that fill tab over, and you know what? That's it, we're all done. Now don't forget your blue fanny pack, Robin. That thing was custom made to keep your insulin pump nice and safe, so be sure to put that on before you leave. Well, that was kind of fun, right? Sure it was. I'll say this, I really thought it was going to be much worse. But I have to say, I did have a lot of fun. And yes, Robin, I'm sorry for being a terrible person and an even worse president, but at least we're done with this pump, right?